What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Crawdad Lake. Today, we are reading Apotheosis, the guy who didn't like musicals fanfic. My first non-standardized fanfic, I might add, and I am very pleased. This is written by ashowstoppinstarkid. I'm sorry, I love that name, it's amazing. Ashowstoppinstarkid on Mobpad if you want to check out the book for yourself or the author. Both of those links will be in the description below. I also want to thank you guys for 700 subscribers. That, Summary. What exactly happened in Hatchetfield after the musical invasion? As it turns out, a surprising amount. Emma isn't the only one not turned. After barely getting out of getting killed and turned by the aliens with a fondness for the performing arts, she discovers Dr. Harriet Hidgens, the niece of the eccentric Henry Hidgens, who has been hidden away and forgotten about by her uncle. As she emerges from her doomsday vault, Harriet becomes the solution that conveniently no one knew existed, and potentially humanity's last hope. Or is she? Chapter 1. Whatever happened to my part? Harriet Hidgens' life was always rather interesting. She was even more so, but that was a story for another time. Her mother had died at childbirth. Her father died in a car crash, driving her to the hospital. The next of kin was her uncle, Professor Henry Hidgens, a biologist and doomsday enthusiast. In fact, Harriet has spent more time in her childhood with her Uncle Henry theorizing doomsday than she had ever doing schoolwork. Not that her grades suffered. In fact, the opposite occurred. She was as sharp as a tack, and 6 years ahead of her studies. Henry Hidgens has started her reading old texts as soon as her brain could process speaking. Her first word was quite literally musical. She had lived and breathed it. She never moved out. No, her Uncle Henry insisted she wasn't to move, and she wasn't complaining. Her uncle was endearing in an odd way. She'd always been picked on because she had different needs than everyone else in our classes. She was a highly functioning autistic, and the odd year they decided to give her an EA. If not that, special work. In truth, she was rather capable of handling herself, and she didn't really need it, and it caused students to see her as stupid, dull, and weird, which she wasn't, and she said she was highly functioning. She just saw the world a little bit differently, and she was absolutely awful with social cues. But then again, she knew many non-autistic people who were awful with social cues. She was oblivious at times, but really, that's all. Just a different worldview. Harriet and Henry had a full game plan come the apocalypse, whilst he sheltered any other survivors and figured out the anomical structure to their invaders. She was going to build the device to save them all in a little bunker under the stairs. She hadn't gotten to decorate the biology, bioengineering, organic chemistry, and biochemical engineering for nothing. She had eagerly waited for the coming apocalypse ever since she could consistently comprehend emotions. She was going to save the world. Then, maybe those kids at school who mocked her and teased her for being different would see her for what she truly was. It wasn't her fault the eye contact was hard for her. It seemed she had missed many social cues at times. She was unaware of how to continue a conversation. She had been a subject of many a joke. But not anymore. No. She'd be a hero, and once her device worked, she'd be recognized for the genius she was, as would her uncle. And when the time came, she set up her lab in that bunk under the stairs, and her uncle welcomed the survivors into his home. He sent her the data she was going to need to finalize the design proportion of the device, and she worked tirelessly on it day in and day out. She didn't quite know what sleep was anymore, and she couldn't, for the life of her, tell you what day of the week it was. She only saw her uncle once in what she might assume was a week. A short interaction, but one that struck with her and gave her the strength to trudge on. She remembered it vividly. Her eidetic memory had more to do with that than the emotional significance, but her dramatic effect, let's say the emotional significance of the moment, was enough to solidify it in her mind. Henry Hidgens trudged down the stairs and popped into the bunker. Harriet looked up at her uncle and couldn't help the toothy grin that spread across her face as she gently set down the blowtorch she'd been using to heat the speed up a reaction that should produce just a compound she would need for the machine to emit. But she could let it react as its natural pace for a moment. This was one of the rare opportunities she might have to see her uncle, and she wasn't going to lose it. She popped her goggles off and ran to her Uncle Henry, wrapping her arms around him excitedly. "What's your progress on the device?" he asked her eagerly. "Everything is going exactly to plan. I had to use a little extra strontium chlorate than I initially thought to accommodate with the biochemical functions, but I packed a little extra anyways. You know me, always prepared." She smiled, her gaze more to the floor than to his eyes. Eye contact, even with her uncle, made her rather uncomfortable. "Where's the biotech I gave you?" He checked all over her head and body for it. "The one that— Don't worry, Uncle Henry," she chuckled, lifting the flap of hair to reveal a small metal attachment on her right temple. "I've got it all covered." "I'm proud of you," he grinned. "Just look at you, saving the world, just like we always planned." "How's it going on your end?" she asked, her hands beginning to fidget nervously. "Well, I was right in assuming someone would come running to me," he chuckled. "My best student, Emma. And she brought her friends. One of her friends' husband was one of them, which was how I got your data. And I wound up having to shoot both of them. The other 4 were debating whether or not to go out and save one of their daughters. It was all rather dramatic." "Well, you've never shied away from drama," she chuckled. "You're in your element." "Well, I really am," he laughed. "And those samples I sent down, do you want to know what those came from? The aliens. They ooze this blue crap." "Blue shit," she chuckled, trying to picture it. Yes. Blue shit." He chuckled nervously. "Sometimes I can't help but see you as a little girl." "I'm not, Uncle Henry," she smirked. "I'm 22, and wise beyond my years." I know, he blushed. "Well, anyways, this blue shit, well, you know the breakdown of it, but on a cellular level, it's obviously incredible, more advanced than we'd initially imagined. Not only do they inhabit the minds of their hosts, they manage to thrive whilst preserving their bodies." "You must be having the time of your life," she sighed. "Be careful, Uncle Henry." "Me? Careful?" he scoffed. "We both know I like to live flamboyantly." "I'm serious," she chuckled. "Don't risk our plan failing." "I won't," he promised. He hugged Harriet tightly into him. "You may not be seeing me again." "Don't say that," she shushed him, putting back the tears that threatened to form. We'll be together again. A little happily ever after." I know, but if something does happen to go wrong, I love you so much," he told her. "I am so lucky to have gotten to raise you." "I'm even luckier to have you for a father," she sighed. "Or uncle, whatever we want to call it. Now, go on up there and knock their socks off. Break all their legs." "I will." He winked, going back up, leaving Harriet wearing a smiling mask to hide her own fear and sadness. She couldn't let his potential last memory of her be of her frowning. She still couldn't look at him in the eyes, and this time not because it made her uncomfortable. She hadn't seen him since, and she was sure it had to have been at least a month. She was worried out of her mind that something had gone wrong, which was why she knew it was important to finish her device. And she was close. So close. She was rapidly typing what she was sure was the final lines of coding. She finished the line and stared for a second. She took a deep breath before shakily raising her finger to press the enter key to finalize it. She summoned her courage and felt the cool key on her skin. The world seemed to slow for a moment. Every single moment of her time for at least a month, though probably much longer, had been spent on this device. If she failed, it was back to square one, and it may be too late for that. She pressed the key, very slowly, let out a sigh of relief. It had worked. The device was set. She unplugged it from her old Macintosh and held it in her hands gently as if it were the most fragile thing in existence. It very, very much was precious to her, the realization of her dreams for literally her entire life. Now it was a matter of getting it to the crash site. She took a breath and slowly and gently put it into the protective case she designed for it. She then put it into the padded pouch she designed for it. There was no such thing as being too careful. She put on the black armored jacket she designed and zipped it all the way up. Bulletproof, which she figured was probably the safest bet for her. She quickly and blindly did her hair into 2% Dutch braids, a skill she had quickly acquired in preparation for the coming apocalypse. Just in case anyone happened to find her, she wanted to look good. That, and in particular, she absolutely could not have her hair exposed to the chemicals or fire she was using. It was unsafe, life-threatening, and she was not losing her life before she saved the world. She absolutely would not let her work go to waste. She changed her pants into what appeared to be jeans, but were in fact reinforced and bulletproof. Now that everything she needed was on her, she took a deep sigh. Very, very anxious. If one single thing went wrong, her life plan was over, done, and what exactly was she to do with her life then? Now, if everything was going to plan, her uncle would be waiting for her in their house, and she would have him by her side to go and find the old theater, praying to God they didn't get taken down before then. Then they'd use her device, and the world would be saved. She absolutely could not wait to see her Uncle Henry again. She nodded to herself in the act of reassurance before climbing the stairs and opening the hatch to the bunker. When she walked out, the house was very clearly empty, and had been for a while. The keyboard had dust on it. She looked down to her pouch, and then around the house again. "Fuck," she stated, almost completely monotone. Just fuck. Chapter 2. Take me or leave me. Harriet sighed, taken aback. He'd left her. This wasn't the plan. Not at all. Not in 22 years. A second glance, she noticed a note on the keyboard. She furrowed her eyebrows and walked over to read it. He had better have one damned good excuse to leave her like this. So close to realizing what she had thought was his life goal as much as it was hers. She was rather heartbroken. She picked up the note, sighed, and tried to be reasonable. Maybe he wasn't leaving her on a whim. Maybe he was just struck. Complications occurred. If I am not back by now, go on. The world is relying on you now. Uncle Henry. Ha, complications. She knew exactly what he meant. There was only one sort of complication that could cause him not to be here right now. She sighed and realized that she was likely going to have to do this on her own. A very scary thought of her. Nonetheless, she would persevere. She knew that her uncle would have prepared a set of weapons for her in case she ran into any trouble in pursuit of her goal. Their goal. So she headed to the weapons room to see what he had laid out. She found yet another note. She approached it almost shakily. These notes were the only things she had of her Uncle Henry right now, and she missed him sorely. She could almost cry, reminiscing about the old days. But she didn't have time for tears. The best way to honor her uncle now was in seeing their plan through to its completion. She read very carefully. Remember, the goal isn't to kill people, it's to save them. Take my shotgun. It's served me well, and it will do the same for you. Take whatever else you deem necessary, and go out boldly. You're a formidable young lady, and I have all the confidence in the world that you will do just fine on your own, Uncle Henry. Harriet hadn't even noticed what was under the note. Her uncle's shotgun, passed down the line of Hidgens' eccentrics for years. Apparently, she was now in that number. She let a small, bittersweet smile grace her lips as she picked it up, feeling along its ridges. Her uncle had taught her to shoot on this gun. Now, she may never see him again, but at least his legacy would live on. If only through the gun. She hadn't touched this gun in at least 5 years. She had her own for a while. She positioned it to shoot, letting it find that familiar little curve in her shoulder. It felt like it belonged. She knew she could very well survive with just this gun. She was very carefully used to the strap to sling it across her back. Still, there was no such thing as too careful, so she went over to the wall and picked up her set of custom daggers and throwing knives. She designed her clothes with spots to hide them, so she got to sticking them in her combat boots, her pants, around her waist, up her sleeves, and even in her hair. The knives had been her 6th birthday present since she'd read a book on close combat and the usefulness of daggers, and she'd been begging her uncle for them ever since. They still fit in her hands perfectly. This room's absolutely full of memories, and Harriet was tempted to stay there reminiscing all day. Surely the world could wait for a day. She was snapped back into reality at a high-pitched screeching of alarm systems started to boom throughout the halls of the Doomsday Mansion. She headed to the nearest security display and checked to see what was going on. Some girl who appeared to be a barista of some sort was attempting to break into the mansion. A futile attempt, really. It had been built to resist far more than baristas. There was something that intrigued her, though. The frantic air she had about her. She wasn't one of them. Quite honestly, Harriet was surprised. A simple barista outwitting an alien race? Unthinkable. Yet, here she was. Come on, you fucking piece of shit, the barista began to mutter as she attempted to pick the lock. An operation appeared on the display of intent to initiate a gun attack on the girl. Harriet hummed for a moment before declining it and unlocking the door, making her way to the front, readying her gunshot. As she approached the door, she noticed the barista hasn't entered yet. Yes, the disbelief might need to set in. She saw the door cautiously open. The barista entered very slowly. She cocked her gun and pointed it dead at the girl's heart, staring her dead in the eyes for a brief moment before it became too much for her. She wanted to at least give the girl some glimpse of her authority in the situation. Harry noticed 2 things looking in the barista's eyes. The first was she was very, very frightened, scared for her life. And the second was she was very, very confused, which made her start to wonder if the barista somehow knew her uncle. Who the hell are you? Harriet asked slowly, a stern tone present, though the dominance couldn't be matched by the stare dead in the eyes that would have been benefiting for it. Holy shit, please don't hurt me. I'm not one of them, the girl pleaded. I just came here because I know it's safe. How do I know you're not lying? Harriet asked, gun still fixated on her eyes. Her eyes fixated on her target spot. I'll sing, the girl thought aloud. The sun will come out tomorrow. But no, that's enough. Harriet cut her off. You're clearly not one of them. Your turn, she demanded. Pardon me? Harriet scoffed. Sing, the girl demanded. I think you're forgetting who has the gun, Harriet chuckled loudly. Look, I just got away from those things, and they got one of the best guys I've ever met, she told Harriet, hands up. Just a few notes. Ugh, fine, Harriet groaned. There, are you satisfied? She noticed the girl was trying to hold in a laugh. This made Harriet flush a little. Okay, she had been playing up her inability to sing a little bit to put the girl at ease, but this was a bit insulting. She loaded her gun and slung it along her back, moving on to try and brush off how insulted she was. Who are you? And how are you not dead by now? The girl asked. Dr. Harriet Hidgens. Harriet smirked, doing a little trick she caught on to where she looks just slightly over her eyes so that she appears to be making eye contact and extending a hand. And I was in a bunker. Hidgens? The girl's breath hitched. Like Henry Hidgens? Oh no, not at all. I just happened upon this house owned by someone with the last name as me and made myself a fucking home. Harriet rolled her eyes. Of course, like Henry Hidgens, he's my uncle. He hid me during the apocalypse to keep me safe. You're not batshit crazy like him, right? She backed away. Am I fucked? Oh God, I just got away from that whole mess. My uncle isn't a batshit crazy, Harriet scoffed, offended. So you are. Her eyes widened. She looked like she was about to sprint. Wait! What do you qualify as batshit crazy, then? Harriet asked her, crossing her arms. I don't know, calling the fucking aliens into his home and practically begging to become one of them, she told Harriet, bug-eyed. Harriet took a step or two back in shock. He'd brought those things into their home? He'd let them take him? Willingly? The guy had a full number ready, too. It was freaky. No, Harriet breathed, looking to the floor, tears starting to pour out of her. No. Uncle Henry, you would never... Shit, I'm sorry, that was really insensitive, the girl realized, walking back into the house and shutting the door. I thought you might have known. No. Harriet took her head again. She had never seen this coming. This was a large-scale betrayal. Her uncle, he'd actually betray her? Something she never thought was possible. Yeah. She sighed. That was really shitty of me. No, you only spoke the truth, Harriet assured her. Right, all right, I suppose I'm on my way now. Hey, you've got me, for as long as we've got before those aliens come for us, the barista shrugged. And who might you be? Harriet asked, realizing no introduction had been made yet. Me. I'm Emma Perkins. I was a barista at Beanie's, but I wanted to start a pot farm. The barista introduced herself, chuckling sadly. That's actually how I knew to come here way back at the beginning of the apocalypse. I was his best student, Harriet chuckled a little bitterly. He told me about you, and I presume you were in his biology class to learn how to farm said pot? Yeah, she admitted. Man, your uncle really liked me, huh? He spoke fondly of you. Harriet nodded. So, we're just gonna wait here for the apocalypse? She started. Apotheosis, Harriet corrected. Apotheosis, Emma rolled her eyes. To catch up to us? Absolutely not, Harriet scoffed. My uncle didn't leave me in that vault for no reason. Before he went ballistic, shall we say, he was benevolent in his cause to save humanity, which is why we worked out our apocalyptic plan. Whilst he sheltered those who needed it and investigated from the outside, I would receive his findings and design a device to save the world from domination, locked away in a bunker so as to not risk me getting annihilated before its completion. But your uncle, Emma started. I made this device myself. I designed the toxins involved specifically for the aliens. He had no control over that, Harriet assured her. It's safe. You designed it yourself? Emma raised an eyebrow. You don't look like you're even legal yet. I have been for exactly a year, but that's not to say Uncle Henry and I didn't drink together before. Harriet winked. Anyways, I get why you're confused, and you're right. There aren't a lot of 22-year-olds with doctorates out there. I fast-tracked my education. I had a high enough IQ that most of the time I didn't even need half of a year to learn everything required of me in a grade level. I wish that was me. I fucking hated school, Emma chuckled. So, we're saving the world? I don't want to pressure you into it, Harriet told her. But I certainly am. You are more than welcome to stay here. I'll set you up on the defense system, get you some weapons, and you'll be right as rain. Like hell I'm staying here alone, Emma scoffed. Safety in numbers, am I right? Fine. Harriet plastered a small fake smile on her face. The prospect of having to both continue conversation with and protect someone else on this journey was less than ideal for her. At least her Uncle Henry was capable. She wasn't all too sure about this Emma. We'll go out together. Where exactly are we going? Emma asked her variantly. The old Starlight Theater, the crash site, Harriet told her. Listen, if your device is some kind of bomb, it's not gonna work, Emma told her softly. I had a friend, Paul, who tried that. He's one of them now. Well, then we're luckily not going to use a bomb, Harriet chuckled. Consider it a mass diffuser. It emits a toxin that should get rid of our unwanted visitors. So, everything will go back to normal? Emma asked. Well, a new normal, Harriet nodded. But yes, essentially. But how are we going to get there without any trouble from, Emma started. Well, the thing is, with so many of them in the astronosphere, the effects of their little invasion should be starting to take effect of those who aren't infected in approximately 2 hours, Harriet told her. She'd been trending levels for a while now, and that was her nearest prediction. Convenient, she thought, that it had taken precisely this long to build the device. Her and her uncle had planned to set out guns blazing, but with this radical switch in accompaniment, this new plan was their best chance. So until then, we keep on the down low. Then we go out. If we need to fake being one of them, our singing and flash compositional ability should have improved drastically. It will take approximately 6 hours from that point for us to die, so we'll need to act quickly. That's scarily convenient, Emma shuddered. So we're gonna act like we're one of them? Precisely, Harriet smirked, her eye contact trick beginning to get a bit old for her, so she started walking into her house before dramatically turning back to Emma. Truly a cliche that her uncle could be proud of. Unless you're uncomfortable with that, you really don't have to come. Oh, I'm coming, Emma sighed. Harriet noticed Emma had followed her. Good. They'd at least established who was in charge. Fucking aliens ruined my life. It was shitty enough as it was. I hated my job, my family life was absolutely fucked, and I had 0 chances with romance. And when at least one of those things started to look up, the aliens tore to fucking shreds. Well, I wish I could sympathize, but the closest I can come is Uncle being dead without me getting a proper goodbye, Harriet sighed, looking down. I have a feeling we'll have a million more tragedies to talk about before the end of this, though. Oh, God, I hope not, Emma shuddered. I've been through a lot of this shit. And if you think the next 6 hours aren't going to be 10 times shittier, then you're dead wrong, Harry told her, a sharpness in her tone. But we are going to persevere because we aren't the only ones going through shit right now, and we're the only ones who can help the people out there like us who are scared and getting destroyed. Right, Emma breathed. Okay, so 2 hours. What do we need to do to prepare? Well, first of all, you aren't dressed nearly appropriately enough. Harriet stared into the lab. She'd kept a spare outfit under her lab bench. She grabbed it and, knowing Emma had followed her, thrust it upon her. Change. You aren't getting shot on my watch. Then I'll see if I can quickly recreate a bit of biotech that my uncle gave to me to shield me from the control once in the levels of the atmosphere are enough to affect us. Then we get you weapons. Understood? Yes, ma'am. Emma took the clothes and headed to the bathroom. Harriet wondered how she knew where it was, but, well, she was far too awkward to ask such an odd question. So many things could go wrong. Harriet shook her head, grabbed a few of the nanoprociators she designed for her uncle when he was making the device for her. She turned on the computer, setting up her coding, and started typing in all too familiar lines of code. Why was she doing this? Why was she incapable of saying no? It had always been a part of her that she hated. She was too anxious about saying no. It got her into a lot of rough scrapes. She finished the programming after about 5 minutes or so. She was so intense she didn't even notice Emma hovering over her shoulder. She nearly jumped when she saw her. Holy shit, woman, a little warning next time might be nice. Harriet grumbled, flustered. Sorry, Emma chuckled. So you make stuff like this all the time? It's a biochemical engineer, among other things. Harriet sighed. So, yes. That's cool, Emma told her. So you're gonna make sure they don't get to me? Yep, Harriet smirked, grabbing some silver to meld. Just have to put this on and we're set. Thank the fucking Lord. Emma heaved a sigh of relief. Harriet took this opportunity to look Emma up and down in the outfit, make sure everything was fit properly. In fact, Emma looked much better in the outfit than she did. She brought a sort of swagger to it that Harriet supposed she would never have. Are you checking me out? No, Harriet flustered red, diverting her eyes to the ground. Shit, Emma would assume she was into her. She wasn't. God, no, even if she was, she wouldn't have the time to be checking her out now of all times. I was just making sure the clothes I gave you fit properly. And? Emma smirked teasingly. They definitely do. Harriet blushed, avoiding being forced to continue the conversation by beginning to soften the silver so she could stick the nanoreceptors into it. As soon as that was done, she gently put the nanoreceptors in. They were tiny, so she set a light and used tweezers and gently and precisely put them where they needed. The receptors were programmed a gently section onto Emma's face and then gently extended into her neural system. Not quite as efficient a way as accessing the brain as the fictional squib from the musical Be More Chill, which she and her uncle both loved, but it would do. When she was done sickening the nanoreceptors in, she put in a cooling chamber for a few minutes. This all looks so sophisticated, Emma remarked. Well, that's me, I suppose. Harriet chuckled, nervously unsure if this is how people normally carried a conversation. Sophisticated. So I see, Emma laughed. Well, Harriet guesses she either got that right or she got it wrong. Either Emma was laughing with her or at her, so she decided to laugh anyways. If someone is laughing, laughter is always the best policy, right? Right. It avoided getting hurt. She didn't know how to keep the conversation going, and she was already very socially anxious because she couldn't see Emma's face with her back turned, which was the only way she felt comfortable right now. And it was just a mess. She suddenly waited for the silver to cool enough, feeling a kind of tension in the room. This was why she hated people other than her uncle. Her uncle understood her. She could practically feel him judging her right now. Once the piece was ready, she took it out and then spun around, placing it on Emma's head. There may be a momentary sting, but I'm decently sure it will cool with counteract it, Harriet informed her, securing it on. There, ow, thanks, Emma grumbled. Apparently that cold hadn't counteracted it. My pleasure. Now, weapons. Are you familiar with any of them? Harriet asked, leading Emma to the weapons room. Like, have you ever used one? Handguns? Emma thought aloud. Like, pistols, but not an actual pistol, like the ones you hold in your hands, like the police carry. You get what I'm saying? I think I have an idea. Harriet stifled laughter. One on hand, not funny. She was screwed. Emma knew nothing. On the other hand, very funny. Emma literally knew nothing. She had thought she might know at least something, but no. She picked up a useless barista, and useless baristas had somehow made it to this far, though the apotheosis solely through connection with her uncle. Perhaps she was very brave and very lucky, but dumb as a post when it came to survival. Harriet walked into the weapons room, grabbed her handgun, and gently passed it to Emma. Her guns were really the only people she could rely on, it seemed, and they weren't even people. Only friends, yet incapable of friendship. What a lovely paradox. Yeah, one of those, Emma chuckled, holding it after her. Harriet could see she wasn't too inexperienced. She had shot a gun before. She led her to the back of the room, where a target was set up. Shoot, Harriet instructed. I want to make sure, if I'm entrusting you with a weapon, that it isn't putting us at more risk than if you didn't have one. Harsh, but okay, Emma snickered, taking a shot dead center. Harriet was genuinely surprised. All right, I guess I could trust you with it, Harriet smirked. Man, if that target was a person, with that many holes in him, he'd be fucked, Emma remarked. Oh yeah, this is where Uncle Henry taught me to shoot, Harriet told her, non-mechanically moving on to the back. She pulled a dagger out of a slot on the wall and handed it to Emma. For close contact. Wow, you guys really went hardcore, Emma breathed, looking at the dagger in her hands. Where do I put it? In your pants. They have multiple slots for knives, Harriet told her. Oh yeah, I was wondering about those, Emma admitted. Why so many? How else am I going to disguise my custom throwing knives and daggers? Harriet scoffed, and she saw Emma just blink once or twice and realized that sentence wasn't an everyday sentence and that a lot of people out there may not have a custom set of daggers and throwing knives. Okay, Emma quirked her head. So I can stick it in any of those? Yep, try to go for somewhere close to your hand so you could grab it in a simple, effortless motion, Harriet suggested. Is there a second one, just in case I fumble and forget what side I put it in? Emma asked. Clever, Harriet smirked, handing her a matching dagger for the other side. There you go. Thanks, Emma chuckled, placing the two together somewhere discreet on her person. No problem, Harriet smiled. She checked the time. So we have 15 minutes, Emma, to do with as we will. At this point, it's imprudent to train. We want to keep our energy up. Have you eaten yet today? No, I haven't. Well, you're not going out on an empty stomach, Harriet told her. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Hidgens, Emma started. Harriet, corrected. Please. Thank you, Harriet, for taking me in like this, Emma sighed. A lot of people probably would have left me stranded out there. Well, as you've probably inferred by now, I'm not most people, Harriet chuckled, walking to the kitchen, grabbing slices of pizza out of the fridge. They looked recent enough, maybe 2 weeks old, and they were in the freezer department, so they should be preserved fine. Her and her uncle immediately never cared about food, as long as they were nourished, and neither of them knew how to cook anything but breakfasts. Henry could make the odd spaghetti or French fries, and he could boil vegetables, but that was about it. Any other meals were foods they could eat raw or delivery, occasionally both. She microwaved the pizza, then set it out for Emma. Are you sure that's still good? Emma asked. Do you want to eat? Harriet quirked an eyebrow as she threatened the girl. I'm just saying, Emma trailed, staring at the pizza. Never mind. It tastes fucking amazing. It was in the freezer. It's fine, Harriet shrugged, eating her pizza hungrily. In the bunker, all she'd had were condensed foods, powders, absolutely disgusting. This was a nice change of pace. As soon as Emma finished, she washed the dishes, looked at the clock. She cheered. It's showtime! Pardon? Emma went wide-eyed. Right, sorry. Harriet composed herself. It's time to go. Let's save the world. Chapter 3. into the woods. What the fuck? Where is everyone? Emma asked as they stepped out the door. I was sure they would follow us. Why would they do that? They probably think they've got you and they don't know I exist, Harriet theorized. They've no reason to be here. I feel fucking weird, Emma said, a hand running to her head. As do I. I suspect it's the first effects of the alien atmosphere hitting us, Harriet agreed. Do you hear? Emma started. Dear God, no, Harriet moaned. I don't wanna... Another typical day. No, Emma screamed, starting to do one wacky-looking choreography beside Harriet. Oh God, it's a reprise. Again, I'm feeling in a beautiful way. Harriet continued, somehow following the complex choreo Emma was doing beside her. Key of D major. Oh, Uncle Henry had taught her well, and she knew exactly what that meant. Dear God, it was the explosion song. She saw Emma breathing and knew what was coming next. A duet. With rhyme and reason, they both sang, doing complimenting choreography. We're singing a duet, dancing a style or two, and I'll make you a bet, Emma sang right into Harriet's face. Harriet's eyes were locking into Emma's in the position she was in, and she had never felt more comfortable in her life. She just wanted out. Just a smile will do. Harriet belted a riff on Smile that would have made her uncle very proud of her. She managed to turn her gaze frontwards. That made her feel a lot better. In fact, the song was rather uplifting. But she couldn't allow herself to become distracted. She had a mission. Sometimes you gotta sing a song and force the world to sing along. Bring a bright light to the darkest times. Emma and Harriet sang this in perfect harmony while skipping and twirling all over the place. Both faces couldn't help but show a sliver of fear they felt inside. Now yesterday is retroactive. The world has got a new perspective. Everyone is gonna shine. Now there'll never be worries. Now it's time to play. Harriet sang out in melody that sounded vaguely familiar. Yes, she recognized it. It was a little tiny working song she'd always sung. It must have lingered in her mind and manifested into a musical number. And we'll do what we want to, Emma belted out. Those aliens really had done wonders to her voice. She sounded amazing. On this la-da-da-da-day, they belted out together in perfect harmony. Harriet took note that she was on the higher harmonies. She found that rather interesting. La-di-da-da-day. A full ensemble backed to them. Oh God, they found them. Then Harriet and Emma found themselves joining them in an a cappella counterpart. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-di-da-day. La-di-da-da-day, la-di-da. Harriet sang, clapping her hands above in the air to the beat of the song. Oh, there had been a key change up to E flat major. She always liked those changes. La-di-da, Emma repeated. This was rather fun. She enjoyed this. She just hoped it didn't show too much. She didn't want to terrify Emma. She could almost forget in this moment that there was an ensemble behind them that would likely kill them. La-di-da-di-day. Harry riffed it into a skrilling register. She didn't even know she had a skrilling register until that point. La-di-da-di-day. The ensemble and Emma backed in her perfect 5-part harmony, absolutely heavenly. La-di-da, 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 day away. We're gonna save the planet. Emma and Harriet belted out in unison, riffing in sync in a final note. Day. The ensemble held one final sustained note as they did a button in there choreographically as the music finished. Emma and Harry gasped for air, nearly choking as the song finished. Oh God, what had they done? Harry couldn't recreate that choreo if she tried. She'd done a perfect Russian. She could barely do Russians before the ensemble circled in, closing around them. Emma and Harriet moved back to back, their eyes widening with fear. Oh God, this was it. This was the end. So she surveyed the ensemble. Greg, Steve, Stu, Mark, Layden, and Chad were among them, her uncle's college friends, or as she liked to refer to them, the working boys. She had thought they were dead, unless it had just been a doormat until now. That was a story as to why the working boys were so important to her Uncle Henry, but the long and the short of it was Henry had been studying deadly diseases fresh out of school, and all of his college buddies had caught a disease he'd been studying. He had to lock them up and watch them supposedly die, yet here they were. Anyways, moving on from that. There was also a pesky Greenpeace girl who had harassed her on occasion. A few men she recognized from a brief office apprenticeship she'd done. What were their names? Paul, Ted, Bill? And there were a few smoker girls her age that she'd seen around. That lady that broadcasts the news, 2 cops, and a beanies barista, like Emma had been. They were getting in close.
"We will not be resisted, Emma,"
they all said in unison.
"The apotheosis is upon us."
"Will not be resisted, Harriet," and handed the device. A voice from the back of the ensemble that Harriet knew too well called to her. She froze. No. She saw her uncle's piercing blue eyes staring into her own. He was really gone. Her heart throbbed for a moment. "The apotheosis is upon us," Harriet said, along with everyone else in the ensemble, conjuring them. She could barely keep her voice from shaking, but in order for her uncle's legacy to live on, she needed to live, at least until the end of this. Every single member of the ensemble furrowed their brows. She nudged Emma to tell her to do the same as she was doing. "We will not be resisted. How do you know what we're saying? Are you one of us? You must be. Good. The apotheosis has begun. Dispose of the device, and we can move on to the rest of the world. Good luck to the 2 of you. Goodbye." The full ensemble left, with only Emma and Harriet remaining now. As soon as they were out of sight, Harriet let out a small whisper. Her uncle was gone. He really was. Really gone. Oh God, she missed him so much. She felt an arm wrap around her, and she tensed. For a brief moment, she imagined it was her uncle, giving her a final hug. She was the only person she let touch her. She realized, though, from the slenderness, that it was likely Emma, and she relaxed into it. She was pulled into a hug, which was much less comfortable for her, but she would tolerate it, since it was being done with good intentions. This time, she allowed herself to break down a little, letting tears roll down her cheeks. Uncle Henry has always been one of the few people who truly understood her, and she felt comfortable being herself around. She had no secrets from him. He knew everything there was to know about her, and she had no issue bearing her heart to him, though at times she messed up conversations and she could never look him in the eyes like she wanted to make him feel validated like he should for being an incredible parent and partner in crime for her. She loved him dearly. He was the only person that close to her. His betrayal had been a lot to take in, but seeing him like that, all blue, with blue oozing everywhere, that was enough to break her. She honestly might never recover. She wanted him back. She wanted to hug him. She never wanted to let go of those moments in the bunker, the pride he had made her feel. He was everything to her, and now there was nothing left of him. Such bitter irony. Hey, are you okay? Emma soothed. Sure, he may be gone, but you've got me now, and I'm not going to betray you like that. You have no clue what he meant to me, Harriet sobbed. He was the only person who got me. If you give me a chance, maybe I can get you, Emma offered. I know I'll never be him, but I'll try to be what you need, all right? That means a lot, Harriet sniffed, wiping her eyes. Thank you, Emma. No problem, Emma chuckled. Now, can you explain to me how we knew what they were going to say? Because I just let my mouth move and somehow it fucking worked and I'm confused. Oh, it's because basically the air is infected by that blue shit, Harriet explained, starting up and wiping away tears. It's why we just joined into their song and dance routine, and it's why we can tune into them occasionally, which is how we saved our own asses. Not gonna lie, that's kinda fucked up, she shuddered. But useful, I reasoned. Still fucked up, she chuckled. Well, we made it about 10 steps out of the house. Let's see how far we can make it this time. Hopefully further, Harriet chuckled, starting to walk. She walked down the pathway to her home, not looking back. She knew if she'd run back to safety, and she couldn't risk that. As soon as she was far enough away, she let out a sigh. You know, Uncle Henry was supposed to be doing this with me. Point taken, I'm not your first choice, Emma chuckled. Wait, no, what? That's not what I should have thought about that damn implications, Harriet stammered, unsure of how to recover. I'm so stupid for a multi-doctorate. I was only teasing you, Emma laughed. Don't worry about it. It's just, I miss my uncle. Now I don't know if there's anyone I can truly be myself around and open up to, Harriet admitted. You can trust me, Emma told her. No offense, but not yet, Harriet told her. In time, probably, but not now. And then there's silence. Not the kind Harriet liked. The silence she had control over. No, Emma has control over the silence. Anything could come of it. That scared Harriet. She didn't want to offend her lovely leading lady type new friend. Family friend, actually, if you considered her friends with her Uncle Henry. She really wanted to stop thinking about him, but given the circumstances, that wouldn't be possible. Finally, Emma broke the silence. You know, last time I heard someone talking about implications was with Paul, Emma sighed. I miss him. I trust him. I trust him so much. I think I might have even loved him. Then he became one of them. It's just me and you who know what it feels like, loving someone and then just seeing them like that, covered in blue shit, with that look in their eyes, and you know it isn't them anymore. You know they're fucking gone. And it hurts like goddamn hell. So, I get it. Trust will take a while, but you know what? That's really selfish of me. You need someone? Harriet offered, seeing Emma cry now. They felt the exact same way right now. It had only taken Emma longer to break. Emma was strong. Harriet sighed. This was a defining moment in her character development, as Uncle Henry might have put it. Either this could be the smartest thing she had ever done, or the most painful. She could close herself off. That was probably safer. After all, they were only together right now for survival purposes. But the thought of not suffering alone, it was alerting to Harriet. So she took a breath and decided to be brave. I could be that someone. I thought you didn't trust me yet, Emma teased, wiping a tear from her eye and sniffing, and a soft smile beginning to form. I don't, but I feel your pain, Harriet tried to explain. And maybe if we can both support each other, we'll get through this. I like the sound of that, Emma smiled softly, wrapping an arm around Harriet. Don't get used to being handsy. I don't usually let people touch me, Harriet told Emma. I mean, you're good for now, but I gotcha. Emma chuckled as they continued walking together down the road. For the color of the sky, I'd say nightfall is coming soon, and we don't want to be in here for nighttime, Harriet sighed. The university is just down the road. I have Uncle Henry's code and a private lab at my disposal there. We should be secure. All right, agreed. And then we head out tomorrow to get to the theater? Emma asked. Early in the morning, given there are no complications, Harriet nodded. There really shouldn't be, Emma reasoned. Shit happens. It's inevitable, Harriet sighed. Okay, I should have told you this, but, that word is touchy, Emma admitted. Oh, what, the one that started with I? Harriet asked her. Yeah, that was Paul's first musical number. It was quite literally the worst, most terrifying, most traumatic moment of my life, Emma explained. Who knew a song could do that to you? The Apotheosis is weird, Harriet shuddered, realizing her uncle had yet to sing to her. That would be a terrifying moment. She continued to walk, thinking about it. He was already a very good singer. She should know. He sung her a very special lullaby every night before bed. Well, he used to. Before, hell broke loose. She wasn't even sure his singing could get any better. Thinking about him singing, she just wanted him back in her arms again. She hadn't realized she'd zoned out until she noticed a hand waving in front of her face. Earth to Harriet, Emma lilted. Her uncle had used to do that all the time. Sometimes he'd even use her full name. Harriet Guinevere Hidgens. When he did, it was a playful thing they did, and hearing Emma do it, it made her heart sore for something she'd likely never get again. She pulled herself out before she got too deep into her own world. Sorry, Harriet blushed. You all good? Emma asked. Yeah, it's just my uncle used to do that, and it just reminded me of how much I want to hug him one more time. Hear him sing our lullaby one more time, Harriet blurted out. He hasn't sung to me yet. I'm terrified. It'll just be a seal on the fact that now I've lost my entire family. I'm sorry, Emma soothed, squeezing Harriet closer, and Harriet allowed herself to rest her head on Emma's shoulder. Maybe it would help if I called you something else. Like a nickname? Harriet asked. How about Harry? Emma offered. Harriet didn't know why, but she felt better about that. Sure, Harriet nodded. Call me Harry. It rings nicely, doesn't it? Harry Hidgens. Harry it is, then, she smirked. Memories fucking suck, don't they? Amen, Harriet shrugged. She heard a crunch of a twig and looked to the bushes, seeing the peering eyes of a small child. The child got up and ran as soon as they noticed her, and Harriet could see the blue oozing from her. Shit, we've been caught. We need to pick up the pace. Word spreads quickly through their system. Caught? Emma asked. They had a child spy watching us. They will know everything, Harriet explained. Fucking kids! Emma began to panic. She gripped tightly onto Harriet by instinct. Harriet almost appreciated the security if it weren't for its confinement. She wiggled out and walked quickly. Come on, do you want to fucking die? Harriet urged her. Hell no, not like this, Emma panicked. I don't want my lifeless body to become some alien's new skin. Technically, you're still alive in there. They're just in control, and you're unconscious. And that's what the machine does, separate human from alien, Harriet explained. The relationship is more symbolic than anything, so I can isolate the two halves and get rid of the unnecessary proportion. So Paul might still be Paul? She asked. Precisely, Harriet nodded. Shit, I slammed him down pretty hard, Emma blushed. We were about to fucking die if you don't move your ass quicker, and you were talking with me about your romantic struggles? Harriet stifled laughter. Why the fuck not? We might die anyways. Might as well go out talking about the things we love. Emma shrugged, catching up with Harriet. Hey, Harry, have you ever been in love? Absolutely not. Too much focus on this, Harriet scoffed. They were approaching the university quickly, thank God. Your entire life? Emma smirked teasingly. Yes, quite literally. My first word was musical. I took my first steps in a jazz square. I was trained from birth on how to save the world. Harriet nodded, completely serious. Wow, Emma chuckled. So you really had no life? Au contraire, I had a bizarre, wacky, wonderful life. Harriet laughed. I loved every moment. I find that hard to believe, Emma smirked. That's like too much theater. There's no such thing as too much theater, Harriet scoffed. Hold on there. You're a theater fangirl? Emma paused. Harriet rolled her eyes and tugged her along. She noticed Emma's expression. Panic. She could practically see what was going on in Emma's head. Don't worry, I still want to save the world, Harriet assured her. Unlike my uncle, apparently, I understand that humanity is at stake, and I'm not willing to risk our entire species for a song and dance number or the opportunity to perform my musical without any opposition. All right, Emma sighed. They reached the university doors. At precisely the entrance Harriet had wanted to use, she quickly entered her uncle's code, and the door unlocked and opened just a little. She cautiously opened it. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Elaborate, Harriet demanded, not wanting to acknowledge she felt a pit in her stomach as well as she slowly walked down the halls of her lab. Something just feels off, Emma told her, following closely behind Harriet. Harriet almost felt like a shield, protecting Emma from whatever could be lurking in the dark. I'd have to agree, Harriet admitted. She took a right down a hall. Everything was so dark. Perhaps that was what was unsettling. The darkness left so many possibilities, and you of Hatchetfield hadn't had renovations in years, so there was no automatic lights. A major inconvenience, really, at times like these. Harriet squinted to try and read the signs, her eyes adjusting scarcely well to the dark. How much longer? Emma asked, an edge in her tone, but not one of anger, one of terror. It shouldn't be. Aha! Harriet squinted, finding her lab. Well, unofficially, it was the Faculty of Biotechnology's lab, except you of Hatchetfield had scrapped their biotech department a long time ago. She had been a part of the last graduating class, and seeing as it all fit her needs, the university allowed her to use it. She punched in her code to unlock the door. She felt dread in her stomach again, as if to reassure herself that there was nothing wrong. She flickered the lights quickly. She looked around. Nothing. Oh, thank God we're safe! Emma popped up from behind Harriet. Harriet sighed and nodded before walking into her lab and locking the door, and that's when she saw it. Or rather, him. I thought I taught you better than to lie, Harriet. His voice resounded through the empty lab. Harriet gulped, having gotten stuck looking him in the eyes before averting them. He was sitting on the lab bench, legs dangling off, hands pressed into the bench beside him. He was looking over Harriet with a look of disapproval. It stung. Harriet, who was that? Emma asked quietly, and Harriet could hear her breath hitch. Uncle Henry? Harriet winced, knowing what happened now. They were going to die. Thank you for listening. That is all the time we have for today. Next week we'll continue with chapters 4 through 6. If you like this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. Go check out the creator. I mean, their work is phenomenal, and this could basically be canon. It's so well written. Except I don't want to see anything bad happen to my baby boy Professor Hidgens, so I kind of, you know. Robert Mannon is a king. Anyway, I'm gonna stop fangirling about Professor Hidgens. My links are in the description below, along with my Discord server for this channel, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Wattpad, even my second channel where I go live. If you look on the screen, there should be different things to click on. Go ahead and click on the things. Comment below things, and there will be a Google form if you express interest in letting me know that there's a fic you want me to read, whether it be one you write yourself or one from a creator. I just have to be able to contact the author and ask them if I'm allowed to read their fic. With all that being said, thank you for listening and do your best.